South Korea takes step towards reconciliation with North Korea. In a bold move that has sparked both hope and skepticism, South Korea has begun dismantling border loudspeakers that once blared anti-Pyongyang messages, a symbolic gesture of peace from the newly elected Lee Jae Myung administration. But here's where it gets controversial. North Korea hasn't reciprocated by removing its own speakers, leaving experts divided on whether this act will calm tensions or empower Pyongyang's provocations. Let's break it down. A shift in strategy. South Korea's decision to silence these speakers marks a dramatic pivot from the hardline policies of its predecessor, President Yoon Suk-yeol, whose abrupt martial law declaration in April triggered a political firestorm. The Lee administration's approach? A return to dialogue, aiming to rebuild trust after years of hostility. As of Monday, 24 fixed loudspeakers near the military demarcation line. The South Korean Defense Ministry insists this won't compromise military readiness, but critics argue it weakens deterrence against future acts, like the infamous trash balloon campaigns that once clogged southern cities with waste. Pyongyang's cold shoulder. North Korea, however, shows no signs of warming up. Kim Yo-jong, sister of leader Kim Jong-un and a key regime official, dismissed the gesture as a PR stunt. No, supporters argue this could pave the way for renewed cooperation, while skeptics warn it might embolden North Korea by removing one of Seoul's few tools for pressure. After all, those speakers weren't just propaganda tools. They were a tangible reminder of South Korea's ability to respond to provocations. Now with them gone, will the North test the new limits? What's next? South Korea's presidential office frames the decision as a pragmatic step toward de-escalating military confrontation in the absence of recent North Korean provocations. Yet, the lack of Pyongyang's cooperation suggests this is far from a done deal. As the dismantling continues, the world watches to see if this gesture will thaw relations or become a case study in diplomatic miscalculation. And this is the part most people miss. The true test of this policy won't be in North Korea's immediate reaction, but in the long game of trust building. Can South Korea prove that peace is more valuable than posturing? Or will history repeat itself, with tensions flaring anew? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe this gesture will lead to lasting peace, or is it a strategic misstep? South Korea removes anti-North Korean loudspeakers. A new era? In a bold move to thaw frosty relations, South Korea has begun to dismantle the loudspeakers used for anti-North Korean broadcasts along its border. This action comes under the new leadership of President Lee Jae Myung, who is steering towards reducing tensions and fostering dialogue with North Korea. But here's where it gets controversial. Despite these peace gestures, North Korea has dismissed the efforts, stating it has no interest in dialogue with the South. The loudspeakers, which have been a symbol of the ongoing conflict and propaganda between the two nations, were visibly being removed by South Korean soldiers, as shown in recent photographs from the Defense Ministry. This step is seen as a practical measure to ease the ongoing tensions, according to a statement from Seoul's Defense Ministry. Historically, the Korean peninsula remains in a state of war since the Korean War ended only with a truce in 1953, and the use of propaganda via loudspeakers has been a recurring tactic by both sides, dependent on the political climate. In 2018, during a period of warmer relations under President Moon Jae-in, similar dismantling occurred as part of efforts to reduce military tensions. However, the scenario flipped when former conservative leader Yoon Suk-yeol resumed the broadcasts, including K-pop music, as a counteraction to North Korea's provocative actions like sending balloons filled with trash over the border. Since the suspension of South Korea's broadcasts in June, there has been a noticeable cessation of North Korea's counter-broadcasts, which had been a source of disturbance for residents near the border. Yet, Kim Yo-jong, sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, remarked that South Korea's decision to halt the broadcasts was not particularly praiseworthy. And this is the part most people miss. The intricate dance of diplomacy and domestic pressures that shape such decisions. What do you think about these developments? Could this be a genuine step towards peace? Or is it merely a strategic pause in a long-standing propaganda war? Share your thoughts in the comments below. South Korea begins removing loudspeakers at North Korean border. Imagine waking up to the sound of propaganda blasting from loudspeakers along the demilitarized zone DMZ between South Korea and North Korea. For years, the South Korean military has used these speakers to broadcast music and news into the north, where the government tightly controls the media. But here's where it gets interesting. The South Korean military has begun dismantling these loudspeakers, a move that could either ease tensions or be seen as a sign of weakness. The decision comes as part of efforts led by South Korea's President Lee Jae Myung to improve relations with North Korea, which have been strained for decades. But the North Korean leadership has been clear. They want the speakers gone, and they're not interested in making nice with Seoul. In fact, Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, recently stated that the relationship between the two countries has